So good afternoon once again, right? Nice for having you all here. I know it's a Friday evening. It takes a lot from you guys to be here, right? So I appreciate that. We won't stay too long. What we'll do is try to touch base on simple little things that a mixer is supposed to do, right? Number one, when a customer come in, you get the color, they pull the formula, make sure, let them know the color. Is a silver or a red or a blue, so they're okay with it. And next thing what we try to do is get a pattern from the vehicle for safety. Because sometimes the car might paint over and they didn't use that code, they use a different code, and the guy who buy the car now didn't know that. Right? So you're always good to get a pattern to check it. Right? Always ask them, most of these guys spot repairing, bring a pattern at the area they're going to paint. Because here what happens, most of the time they bring the gas tank cover, which is the lid. They might be painting the other side. Now this side paint over, the color not matching on the other side. You will mix the paint to the gas tank cover, which is on the other side. When they carry it back and they match it, the color look wrong. So you need to let them know to bring a pattern closest to the area that they're painting, which is very important, right? And next thing, once you pull your code, it's important to let them know if it's calling for a ground coat, right? Which is SGO, right? The SGO is 1 to 7. Once it's calling for SGO 1, is white, which is the white primer, which is the 5301. I don't know if you guys carry 761 white primer, or that's the gray alone. So the white primer, anyone, is the number 1 SGO. If it calls for SGO 5, is the 5305 or the 761 gray. So you have no issue with that. Anything in between, you have to mix it, right? Now a lot of people, what they do, from the white one, if it's 2 or 3 or whatever, they put a little black, not too much, and they tinted that. Or you could mix it as a base coat. You pull the formula and it will tell you the base coat how to mix it, which is some 900 white, some black, some of them will carry a little blue, so you need to adjust it on it. Right now the reason for that is because these new colors, which is the Zarle colors, is very transparent. Right? They will buy this, they go to spray without using the SGO, and they're going to come back to you and tell you, hey, this paint have no coverage, or paint not good. It's not only not good, you need the ground coat. Once you have that, 2 to 3 coat, you cover. You have no problem. So you need to explain that to them. Now, our next thing is, a guy might be painting a blue. Tell him, hey, you need, which is SGO 5 or SGO 6. He can say, no, I have some blue paint home. Here what's going to happen. The shade going to look different. Because the companies do a lot of research. When they get a color, they do a lot of spraying on it. So when they spray blue, they put red, they put gray, they put black, they put white. And the best color that them choose is what on the vehicle. So if you change the ground coat, the top coat going to change. Now when you tell painters that they complain like, hey, that's not going to happen. Yes, it happened. Now, if they're doing a complete vehicle and they use a different color, they won't see it as much. The color might have a slight little thing and they say, okay, good. So the next guy going to repair going to run into a problem. So you need to explain that to them. Right? So that is something very important. Something else you need to do is to explain to them the mixing ratio. Because a lot of people buy stuff, they go home, they paint, and they do what they want to do. And they screw it up, and when they screw it up now, they might even come back by you and go say, hey, that product not good. So your mixing ratio is important, always good to mark your mixing ratio when you can. Let them know is 1 to 1, the clear coat is 3 to 1 or 4 to 1, whichever clear coat they're using, because you have different clear coat. You guys carry 596, which is 3 to 1, no reducer. You have to let them know that, right? Now, our next thing, if you're using, I see you guys carry 832 and 790 hardener too? You carry 790?
Yes.
Right, now the 790, the 832 and the 790 is 3 to 1. If you're using the 790 hardener, it's 2 to 1. The mixing ratio change. Now the 790 is an express hardener. The 832 is an express, but the 792 is a faster express. They dry faster. But the mixing ratio change, which is 2 to 1. So you have to understand and let them know that. Because you might think yourself, hey, they know, they might know, and they're going to mix it 3 to 1 is an issue. Now, our next, yeah, go ahead.
What are the popular hardener 770 the low B. So what is the ratio for that one?
Well, the 770 hardener really designed for the primer, or like WJ90 or industrial paint and whatnot. Now a lot of fellas still buy it because the 770 are a little cheaper and they buy it.
The little cheaper, the primers are the same price.
Yeah. Okay. But the 770, the finish you're going to get with the 798 or the 832 or the 790, the 770 is going to look a little different. A dry, not a glossy finish. And then they're going to complain. So I always tell them, in this industry, the slower something dry is the better. You always allow it to dry, give it enough time, everything dry, it even off and you get a real good finish. Anytime you're going to rush something, you're going to run into a problem.
Because everybody, most people asking for the express look,
Yes.
they hear it dry fast, but we always tell them what for high gloss paint, 798 is the best hardener because it's dry and it gives you the gloss.
Real nice finish and everything. Now we have a clear coat which is Deltron 3000 and 4000. The Deltron 4000 is for overall job. The 3000 in 45 minutes to hour you could buff that and send that out. So that's a fast clear coat. So if somebody looking for a fast clear coat, you guys could have that and sell them that. You can't get nothing faster than that. In half an hour to 45 minutes, you could buff that. That is real good. Right? That is Deltron 3000 and Deltron 4000. The 4000 is the overall, 3000 is spot repair. 2 to 3 panel. All it have fellas, painters, buying it and they're doing overall, which not to recommend because it dries so fast. So you want it to dry better finish. Because remember, at the end of the day, you're looking to sell somebody to keep them, to keep coming back to your shop for your business. So you need to explain to them the right mixing ratio and everything. Remember, use the front end. When they come, they meet you guys first. So you have to know how to explain to them to get them to use it the right way. So you need to keep telling them over and over again because some people say yes and no and whatnot. Right? Because I went to our shop today. We talked to the guy, what he using, a different brand. You know, I have an issue with your clear coat, it breaks down after a while. So what is the clear coat? 596. How you use it? Well, 3-to-1 with 15% reducer. I said, here what? You're wrong right there. 596 mix 3-to-1. No reducer. He said when you use reducer, it look a little more smooth. I said, yes, the finish going to look smooth now, but once it hit, that UV hit that, it's going to start to break it down. Once that break down, first thing you're going to say, the clear coat is not good. It's not the clear coat not good. It's the mixing ratio that you put on. Right? Yes. Now, and next thing you need to tell these guys, all depends on the spray gun they have. Your air pressure in your clear coat had to be between 29 to 39 psi. 29 psi to 39 psi. All depends on the spray gun. Huh? At the gun. It's always good to let the straighteners have a gauge to the gun. They could control the air pressure there because here what happened. You might have a compressor about 15 feet away. Every 5 feet it breaks down a certain amount of air. So if you set it at, let's say, 35, by the time it reaches to your gun, it might be about 25. So you're going to get an orange peel finish. So that is important to let them know. Right? Now, let me start with when a car comes in. Right? The first thing you need to do is let the people know when a car comes into the body shop, they need to take some, you guys will sell 792, right? You sell 804.
Yeah,
okay. All right. So take some 804 thinners in a rag, and the area that they're going to repair underneath, pass it for a couple seconds, maybe a minute or two. Right. The reason is for that, the person who did the work before, if they didn't use enough hardener, it's going to start to come off on the rag. If you see nothing happen with the rag, you know your surface is good. Anytime paint coming off from there, you need to strip that paint. Because when you're going to start to work on it, you're going to run into a problem. So that is something important. You need to let them know that. Right? Yes. And next thing, a lot of fellas, a car come in the body shop. They don't wash down the car. They just wipe the area they're going to fix, start the body fill. Something very important, you need to wash your car. Now, not with squeezy or soap powder. That could cause fisheye. And fisheye is not a paint problem, it's day preparation. So we have something called body clean, right? Which makes 4-to-1. When I say 4-to-1, 4-part water to 1-part body clean. And if you're painting the whatever area you're going to paint, take a scuff pad, scuff the panel, rinse it 1 time. The reason for is that once you take off anything from the panel, you need to rinse. If you don't rinse it and go wrong the vehicle, whatever, it's going to dry back and remain back there. So if you do a panel, scuff it out, rinse it, do your next panel like that. So your area clean. And which is something after COVID, is something more better for you and healthy for you, because here what happened. You don't know what on that car, a dead animal that car run over and whatnot. You might be touching the car wherever you're ready to eat. Let's do so and it's going to eat. So which is dangerous for the straightener, which is important. So you need to let them know these things. Right?
Sorry, when you got the body clean again, you need to explain to the guys how to use that.
Yes. Well, if you don't have body clean, please use just plain water and wash down the car. When you don't wash down the car, you could use your wax and grease remover. Now, when you're using a wax and grease remover, it have 2 ways you could use. Put it in a spray bottle, spray on and wipe off. If you don't have a spray bottle, pour it in a rag, wipe on, wipe off. Just like the body clean. When you wipe off, you must have enough on your rag. When you wipe on, you want to bring anything that's on your panel.
So you will not reduce that in the water and wash down the whole car?
No, no.
Only this
Body clean, which is JX 101 that you guys have right now. You wipe on, you wipe off. You wipe off until it's dry. You do your next panel. And when you're using it, right, don't ever this your container, jam your rag like this and pour. You contaminate the whole setup here. So you hold it like this, you pour, you wipe on, you rest on that, you wipe off. Wipe on, wipe off. That is important. So you need to let them know that. Right? But the best thing is you can afford a spray bottle, a good spray bottle. Put it in a spray bottle, get a little pump, spray it on and you wipe off. Next panel you go down like that, which is important. Right? When you mix in colors, and you mix a color, and you don't mix the color and tell yourself, you find looking a little dark, or a little more lighter or something, stick with the same formula that you use. Now let me just say the color was a darker color when you don't mix it. Right? Look for the colors that is darker, leave it out, and use the same formula to lighten your color. Now it's always better to throw a couple drops, keep throwing, than you throw too much and you spoil the paint, which is important. So always remember that. What we try to do is stick with the same formula, so you don't go off. Now, as a good mixer might know, hey, the formula didn't call for a blue-green, I could add that and get it. But if you're not that good, stick with your formula and know exactly what it is. You have to know your strength of your colors, right? Which color is more strong, which is more weak, so you need to know that. Once you know them colors, know your toners, it'll be easy for you to mix. You won't have no issue. So that is important.
Like many times they will ask, what you think this color need, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I say, you having 904, you're having something, use that to get it a little darker, to bring it closer to the shade.
Yes.
You know, I can stick to the same formula. Whatever is in that formula, you use to lighten or darken the color.
Exactly.
Yes.
Now, they do a survey in mixing colors, right? And the survey was that women pick up colors better than men. For what reason? A guy go watch it and, yeah man, nice gray. A woman will pick it up and watch, hey, I seen a little blue in that gray, I seen a little yellow shade in that gray. So it's always important when you get a panel, clean your little sample that the guys bring, clean it, so you will know it. Sometimes you have to take thinners, if you have a little compound, clean it out. You get the original color back. Always watch it like this and then watch it to the side, watch it back so you'll see sometimes the side, you just see it's white. And when you watch it on that, you see a little red, or a little yellow, or a little blue. So you have to make sure. Take your time, watch it. If you find you're seeing me looking, rest it down, do something and then come back a minute and watch it. Because you might be watching too long and then all of a sudden like, you find like you can't see anything. So always give it a few minutes and then come back to it. That is important. Because simple thing like a little red could throw off the color. right? Now, most of the colors now, if you guys mix and paint, you go realize the variation is, sometimes polar color might have 6, 7 different variations. This is why your color box supposed to be updated. So now guy bring it, you pull the color box, look for the different variation, and you match it up. Now the reason for is that when I can make, it have 5, 6 different plant. This one might paint in this plant, this one might paint a plant B, plant C. Sometimes the mixing might drop a little extra blue or extra black while mixing the color. But when it's the time they paint, they spray a chip. So they know that matching up with that, which is good. Now most of the time we mix as mixers, we go with number 1 variants. Most of the time. Anytime anybody mixing, it is number 1 they go with, which you're supposed to check and see, which is important. So that will give you exactly what you're looking for and whatnot. Now I know a lot of mixers, we do have a product, so they try to use something else. When you're using something else to substitute, make sure the grains, like if it's aluminum, look for the grains closer to it, right? Don't use, if it's calling for fine silver, they come and use a big grain silver, you're going to throw off the color. So you always have to remember that. It's better to double check your container than your pour is the wrong thing you throw. Right? So everybody okay with that so far? What is one of the issues you guys is having mixing or anything? Issue that you all have in mixing paint for customer or anything?
When you run out of one aluminum to substitute to another, which one you run out of? Did you say 992?
992.
What we had to use?
And I would say once you know your silver, you could play with it. Now what you have to do is let the straightener know too, he need to fade out the paint. Now I was hearing a guy was saying, when the customer come and they tell them how to fade out, they don't want to pay. But as a painter, you can't tell the customer you have to fade it out. Because here what's going to happen. Let me just say the left side front door get hit. Right? You're going to tape up the front fender, tape up the back door. When you're painting, you don't stop on the edge, you go a little further. And the paper is a paint. So the same paint that you're putting on the paper is what you're throwing on the two sides, 2 panels. All you need to do is put the extra clear coat on them. And when you're done, the color look good and everything. That when you're done paint panel to panel, the color look different. And then he have to repaint it, buy more paint, which the rest of the vehicle getting keep back. And then first thing you're going to say the paint shop give him the wrong mix. No, I just tell somebody, once the paint shop could make a mix from the 85%, I could fade that because the technique you're using to spray. And most of these guys could paint a complete car. Very good. But spot repair, they don't know how to spot repair. Right? A spot repair job is not the same air pressure that you're using to paint the car. Your air pressure has to be lower. Right? I will go average about 18 to 16 psi if I spot repair at the gun. Now all depends on the spray gun you have. If it's a good brand gun, you could go with that. If it's an economy cheap gun, you have to open a little more pressure to optimize the paint properly. Right? We always say when you're painting and you're coming, if you're fading, you're fanning off your hand. You're arcing, you're not stopping at the same place. You're arcing. So your first coat you're coming and you're stopping close to the spot, but you're arcing off your hand. Right? You know, you're tacking off now the area not that way you paint, the area that didn't paint. The reason for, when you arc your hand like this, you scatter in the grains, the aluminum or the pearl. And if you don't wipe that off, you're going to see it when you clear coat. So you're tacking off the area that didn't paint. So you have to let them know that. Your second coat, you give your flash time, which is with sometimes 10, 15 minutes, all depends on the temperature. Come back with your second coat, you go a little inch further than where you stop with your first coat. So every time you go a coat, you go a little thing further off. So you won't see the same spot building up. You're scattering the grains exactly where you're doing. And you do the same thing, you tap off, you're ready to clear all 3 panels. Color going to look good, you won't have no problem. Now, a simple little thing, your air pressure. I could take the same paint in the gun, raise the air pressure, spray a little part, slow down the air pressure, spray the next part, keep my hand close, spray another part, pull back my hand and spray another part. And you're going to see 4 or 5 different shades that I spray. And when you tell the painters, you mix the paint, they have to know the technique now, how to get the color properly. First thing to blame is the paint shop get wrong color. So these were you need to educate them on that. Now, when I mix in, I rather mix my color a little thing lighter than darker. It's always better to leave it a little lighter than you leave it darker. Darker could show up faster. Lighter, you could play with it and get away. You have no issue. Right? Once you mix that, I would say 85 to 90% or even 80%, you could play with that. But they just have some colors that look like chalk and cheese. So you have to know what you're looking at. That is important. Right? Now, your base coat make paint, mix in 1:1. Your mixing ratio. 1 part reducer, 1 part paint. Now, if you're going with a 3-stage, now it's always better to activate your 3-stage. But anytime you're activating your 3-stage, which is your mid coat, you must activate your ground coat first too. So your ground coat have to be activated, then your mid coat, well then you do your normal clear coat wherever you're going. Now anytime you're doing that, you activate how your mixing ratio is going to be is 9 part base to 1 part 798 to 10 part reducer. Right?
Say it again.
So it's 9 part base coat, which is the ground coat, to 1 part 798 to 10 part 1493 or 1694. Right?
So, base, put hardener in that base?
Yeah. It activates your base coat get more harder, it get more better and everything. Finish. If you have to repair it the next time, easier to repair and everything.
We're not talking about a pearl base coat, right?
Now you could activate, I being honest with you, when I paint in, I activate all my base coat. If it's normal 2-stage, which is just normal base coat, and clear, I activate it. The reason for my clear coat, my ground coat, which is my base coat paint, you're gonna get hard, you're gonna get activated. When you have to repair it easier. And what I notice, the grains show up a little better and even out more nicer and everything. I know all these years, you're telling people just mix it 1:1, mix 1:1. If you're going to tell them that now, first thing you're going to say, which is you telling me? You're kind of throwing me off.
They used to tell us that.
Yes.
That was one of the.
I know.
Pearl, 1:1, mixed base coat.
1:1 and you spray it.
You spray it and then you come over with your top coat.
No, it have not no problem with that. You could go with that, but the better way is to activate it. So if you want to leave it like that, it's not a problem.
You're saying for a 3-stage pearl, a 3-stage,
Mhm.
in the base coat where you do your ground coat, like Chris said, you do your middle coat and you come over with your third coat, which is the
Your clear coat,
with
yeah.
hardener. You're saying activate all 3 coats.
All 3. Anytime you're going to activate your mid coat, you have to activate your ground coat.
You can't stay soft.
Yes. No, it will take a couple minutes slower to flash. When you hear that, people say, by using hardener, it's supposed to flash faster. No. The hardener slow down the process. Because my thinners and base coat are dry. Right? Now, thinners, reducer then, right? Because you guys call it reducer. Reducer, the only way you're using reducer is to travel the paint from point A to point B. Right? To get the paint on the vehicle or whatever you're painting. Now, thinners, reducer evaporate 3 times. As you pull the trigger, 1/3 evaporate. As it hit the panel, 1/3 evaporate. And your last 1/3 remain there to level out your paint and get it even. That is what your thinners is for. If you could have used your paint without thinners, you had no problem. You always have to remember that. Right? Now, a lot of fellas, when they're painting, they just come and say, hey, I'm putting on a fumes coat first on the car. When they finish, you're going to get a grainy look. My first coat is a medium wet. Right? Your hand had to be 6 to 8 inches off your panel. Always remember that. In base coat. Anytime you go too close, you're going to run into a problem. And your spraying technique had to be between 50 to 60% lapping. So as you come here, you're coming back right there. If you come here and you jump here, you're going to get something called tiger stripes. Now most of the time fellas painting a little area block off. It's going to look good, and as you go out in the sun, you're going to see it. Especially silver or a beige color, you're going to pick up on that very fast. Like darker colors, you might miss it.
A black wave.
Yes, so you need your spraying technique, your lapping have to be very good. You need to, as I come here, you're coming back right here.
How stopping?
Yeah, no. If I paint in a panel, now our next thing too, explain to these guys that if you're painting a car, I just stop on my edge. Let me just say I do in my back, the whole panel are going down. Starting from outside, as I start to pull my trigger, I go in half of my back door, let go. Coming back right there, let go. Coming back and let go. When I do my door now, the back door now, starting from half of the front fender, as I start, you pull on my back door. So I'm not going to get build up. Sometimes you see a car on the edge, you got a darker spot. Because they stop right there, they come back on this back right there. You have to travel your hand. And always keep your hand straight. Don't fan off. When you fan off, you scatter any grains on the next panel. The next panel is going to get rough. Keep your hand straight like this, and you pull like this. You go like this, and you go like that. Simple thing like that.
I've seen a lot of guys when
Yes, they fan off their hand. Yes. That is, no, that, I've been honest with you, that is the way years ago you used to paint. So old painters, when you tell them that, they're going to say, it's hard to get that because they are accustomed like this. But once you can remember, the right way is like this. So the new guys who coming up, you tell them that they're going to practice that, which is the right thing. Right? That is important. Your air pressure at your gun is very important. Now a lot of fellas buy paint and they say, no, I have thinners home. They're going to use a cheaper thinner. Thinner could cause your paint to change shade. When they tell them fellas that, but we're telling me, the cheaper thinner is going to look, especially aluminum, white, beige, going to look a little different. And first thing they're going to come back to you and say, you mix it wrong. So you have to explain to them, use the right reducer, which is very important. Now they might look to save at $20 or at $30. Now they have to come back and do over it with more money. Who losing in the end? But they don't understand that. So this is something you need to explain to them.
So when we run out of 1493, we just recently get we had only 804. Some guys said they use performance like a thinner. I know it's a faster thinner and thing. And they're telling you that they get the same result. As a matter of fact, 804 is sell just as equally as 1493, which
All
is
right.
the
Well, I have a couple customers that buy the drummer 792. 792 thinners is a lacquer thinners, or is a high grade lacquer thinners. And they prime, they wash gun, they paint, everything with that. I say if you run into problem, don't call me.
But the same thing they do with 804.
Yeah.
Some customer buy the gold drum.
So I mean, off the record, yes, it work, but especially light colors, you're gonna see it, especially if they fade in. So they have to be careful with that because it dry fast, and the type of weather we have in, we need the slower thinners. That's the reason we have a the 1694 is a little slower than the 1493, right? Yes, people buy it, but not as much because the price is a little more higher. But it's a slower thinner. So you get an even, smoother, nice finish. Like I always tell people in this job, slower is faster. You're going to do something, don't hustle to paint. You watch the weather, you make sure, take your time and do it. Anytime you're going to rush into any issue, you're going to run into problem. Take a 5 or 10 minutes up front and you have no problem. Right? Preparation is very important in this type of job. You could have the best spray gun, the best paint, and your preparation is not good, your job wouldn't look good. So you have to let them know that. Preparation is important.
Preparation, tell us about spirit white.
Spirit white is very important. Before you prime, before you paint, you need to use spirit white. That is very important. As I explained here, if you have a spray bottle, spray it on, wipe off. If you don't have that, pour it, wipe on, wipe off. Now a lot of fellas just spray it on with one rag and go down the road. That dry off for itself, what's going to happen there? Whatever you wipe on, it's going to go back on the panel. It not make no use. Right? And next thing is important, you need to tell these painters, when they don't eat, wash their hand. The grease. Simple thing, we might be sweating. We pass we hand away and we touch, hey, a little spot, you rub it. that could cause fisheye. Fisheye is not a paint problem, it's the preparation in the area. Something like WD-40 is cause fisheye, Amarol, fisheye. It have certain polish, with anything with silicone going to cause fisheye. Our compound polish, which is Ferraclar, have no silicone in it. You could polish a part right there, paint next to it, it won't have no issue, because it have no silicone. So that is something important, right? Simple thing, we wearing watch, and the black band on the watch. When you sweat, that is, like I said, oil. This could cause fisheye. Sometimes your perfume, your deodorant, could go on the vehicle and cause fisheye, if the breeze blow. Sometimes you might be painting here in the open, and all the way up there, somebody spray Amarol or WD-40 or something, that blow on the vehicle, and it's fisheye. So you have to be very careful. Simple thing like if your compressor throwing oil, you're going to run into a problem. So you have to check that. Right? Now, I know this is not for you, it is for the garage guys, but they need to change the compressor oil every so often. Most fellas buy the compressor, once the oil good, they leave it. It's just like a car. You need to change your compressor oil, because your compressor is what you're painting, you're priming and everything. So you need to let them know that. That is important. Right? You guys okay so far? All right. You good, buddy? Looking tired, boy. It's a hard day. Right? So, right? Now, primer, when you're spraying your primer, right, is between 29 to 39 psi. All depends on your spray gun. Right? So you need to explain that to them. Now, 761 primer is a spot repair primer. Right? You could mix it with the 770, which is 4 to 1 to 1. When I say 4 to 1 to 1, 4-part primer, 1 part hardener, 1 part reducer. Right? If you're using the 798 to mix it, it's 5 to 1 to 2. So when I say 5-part primer, 1 part hardener, 2-part reducer. Right? Now, a lot of straighteners apply, when they do their body work, they put on the first primer, a grainy, dry look. The best way to apply your primer is in a wet. Your first coat must be wet. The reason you put on a primer is to cover a little pinhole and little scratches and whatnot. Right? If you put on that dry, that's going to remain on the surface. When you block that, after a little while, this pinhole and the scratch is going to show up. Right? If you wet that primer, what's going to happen? That primer going in the pores of the filler, filling up the little scratches, the pinhole. So you need to let them know. Now, the right spray gun to apply a primer is 1.6 to a 2.0. Anytime you use something smaller tip, you won't get what you're looking for on the primer. So it's a 1.6 to a 2.0. Like your base coat could be a 1.3 to a 1.4. Clear coat gun is a 1.4. Now, if you have a 1.3 or a 1.4, you could apply your base coat and apply your clear. But it's always better to tell guys they need 3 guns in the shop. Who could afford it? A primer gun, a base coat gun, and a clear coat gun. I know that. I mean, anyway, go fellas say, I can't afford a gun.
Most of them have 2 guns.
Right.
Or they change the nozzle tip.
Yeah. But then if you're changing that, right, what you need to do is to change your whole needle and everything, not just the tip. You change the tip, it don't make sense. You have to change your needle, change your tip, and the piece inside. Now, the next thing you need to tell the straighteners and them, they buy a good gun. When you're done paint, make sure and clean your gun one time. Now, I do ever scrap my spray gun. That's the nozzle on top. I take that off, soak it. That little piece on side there, I do ever take that off. You could damage it. Once you blow off your gun, clean that. I have a little 1-inch paintbrush, clean it, put it back together, and I good to go. Right. Now, if they could afford a good spray gun, encourage them to buy a good spray gun. The finish you're going to get with a good spray gun, completely different to them cheap gun. Your paint atomizes more better. You're going to save on paint because you use less paint than you had them cheaper gun. I mean, we know how the industry is. guys looking to buy cheap thing. But they had to invest in the shop to make. Right?
So you
Right.
can use carry a cheaper gun to demonstrate tomorrow to me? You have one already.
Well, we don't use in one gun. If you want to use an next one, there's no problem. But I rather use a good gun and show them the finish I get with the good gun. So they, yes, after that they go, hey, I need this good gun.
Sometimes it's not the gun. Sometimes it's the printer.
Well, right.
So that's
As I say, you could have the best gun and you don't know how to apply the product, you're going to run into a problem.
sometimes we have some customer that buy the expensive gun and then pay them to they still come back and complain. You want to change the gun?
All right. Now, our next thing is to set up your spur gun. A lot of fellas buy the gun, they don't know how to set up the gun. That is very important. You need to let them know. Now, all gun different. All manufacturers make the gun to work at different peak. I will tell you, hey, I use SATA, but go 18 PSI with base coat. You might have a different gun, right? Might go 19 or 20. So you have to make sure and read your booklet and play with it to know what you're looking for. Now, normally what I do, set my gauge on my gun, set my air pressure. So average about 21, 22 PSI for base coat. Take the fan, send it in all, the fluid, send it in all. And I average 4 turn right out back. I have a paper on the wall, and I make 6 to 8 inches and make a spray. I just make a spray. What you're looking for is a nice egg shape finish. Once you get that, you're good to go. You don't want some part fatter, some part thinner. You want a nice finish like that. And once you get that, your paint going to look good. A lot of fellas they buy a gun, check the air pressure, they pull out all the sanitine, bomb, yeah, and that's it. That is, you're not supposed to do that. Now, when you're spot repairing, your fluid have to go in a little more. It's not the same amount that you're painting a whole car. Your air pressure had to drop. Your fan could be a little smaller, not too much, because you want your fan as the same thing. Right? We need to explain these guys, when you're doing base coat especially, metallic or pearl or ceramic, most of the time 2 coats is cover. So you put on your first coat, you go around the vehicle, flash, second coat. As you finish your second coat, once it cover, if it calls for a next coat, you give it the next coat. As you do a panel, you pull back your hand, right? Let me say using 22 PSI at the gun, right? You pull back your hand 12 to 15 inches now, and you're dropping the air pressure to 16. And you're giving something called a mist coat or a drop coat. But as you start here, don't come quite there. You're keeping it real good right there, and you do like that. You raise your pressure, you do your next panel. The reason for, just in case you miss out anything, and you pull back your hand, this drop coat going to align the aluminum or the pearls. So when you paint, it's going to look even and it's going to look nice. That is important. You have to let them know. Right? Now, our next thing when you mix in paint, your paint bank always has to be clean. Your area, take care of your area you're working on. Right? Your scale has to be clean. Make sure it's working good. When you're pouring your paint and some paint fall on that little thing, you need to wipe it. Now, when you're pouring in your canister, it has something called a breathe hole. If you pour right on the edge, it have a hole. It have to be clear. If it's not clear, paint not going to fall how it's supposed to. Now, I know it's be busy, but you need to take some time and clean that. That is important. Simple thing like the little edge you're not clean, you mix in paint and that might fall, you might even pick up that. The guy go to paint, he aims straight, and then after that falling is, what he going to say? The paint will give him not good. Because most painters, some strain, some use tack rag, some of them don't use that. So that is something very important you need to take care of. Like the day things will slow, do 2 or 3 cans, things set back, then you do 2 or 3 cans like that, which is really important. Housekeeping is very important. Right? Safety is number 1 in anything. Right? Now, outside here is okay. As I walk in the spray room, I smell any paint. Right? Everybody should have on a respirator when you're mixing paint, which is important. You need to wear gloves, because here what's going to happen. Your hand going to mess up. What you're going to clean with thinners? Our body's like sponge. That's going straight down in our system. After a while, you're going to run into some issues. Now, I know this is young lady, we are disrespecting you, but men, all are going to run into some problem later on in their personal life if all they do take care of that. Right? It's a serious thing. Now, a lot of fellas who mix in paint and painting, when they don't paint, they say they're going to take a drink. That do help. Right? Milk helps a little bit, but the best thing is olive oil. Olive oil. Take a little, every so, one time for the week, a spoon of olive oil, clean out your system. Especially when you're dealing with paint, which is very important. Yeah. So I want all the guys to practice to wear a mask. If all they don't have, talk to the boss. She had to make sure and get that because safety is number one. Because here what's going to happen. You'll be working today, tomorrow you get sick, what's going to happen? They're going to lose a mixer and they're going to, people going to say, hey, I have a customer with this guy and I'm going somewhere to get paint. So you're going to lose business. Right. So here we're going to, and the next thing, when you get your respirator, most of these good respirator come in a Ziploc bag. Don't take it out from the Ziploc bag and throw it away and rest it. Hang it up when you're not using it. A respirator designed to work 24/7. That's designed to breathe. And if you're not using it, it's still going to breathe. So you might say, hey, I get this thing, I only wait 2 or 3 days and it's smelling paint. Because once it's there, it's going to breathe. When you're not using it, put it back in a Ziploc bag, seal it. Whatever air there, that's what you're going to work on. So that is important. When you're ready to use it, to take it out, wipe it, put it on. Once you smell in paint and you have on that, the cartridge needs changing. After a while, well, the complete thing needs changing. But you need to have on your respirator. Now, all I could do is explain to you guys. It's up to all you. If all you don't want to use it, later down the line, all you will say, hey, here what? Hey, I should have really wear a respirator. And once you get, now plenty of fellas say, boy, I can't work with it. I feel like a stifling. Once you wear it 2, 3, 4 times, you're going to get so used to it. It's going to be real good. If you don't have it on, you're going to smell the paint now and you're going to be crazy. So try and use that. Please get some gloves. Wear your gloves when you're mixing and paint, which is important. Now, it have some cheap gloves that as solvent hit it, it bursts. It have some gloves and that solvent could take it and it will last long. Because here what's going to happen, you might buy the cheap one, and at the time a box done. Because the amount of paint as you're going to touch, you're going to damage. You buy the good one might last you a day. So which, the long one, you spend a little extra money, but you're going to last you better, which is important. Right? You guys want a little 5 minutes to drink water or anything? Are you okay? Yeah. All right, take a 2 minutes, I'll give you a 2 minutes break and we'll start back. Right, guys?
Yes.
All right. All right. So you guys okay, right?
Yes.
All right. So mixing ratio is very important. You have to let these straighteners know that, which is the end users. Now, a lot of people say, hey, I want to paint dry fast, they put extra hardener. Right? Extra hardener going to slow down the process, your paint drying, and what's going to happen? Certain part of the vehicle going to remain soft once it's in the sun. If it calls for a certain amount of hardener, make sure and use that amount of hardener, not extra hardener. We have hardener designed to dry fast, which is the 790 or 832. Right? Your mixing stick or mixing cup is important for the end users to buy. Make sure when they have you have a mixing cup, make sure they get it. Because here what's going to happen? Most of these straighteners, they mix paint, they don't measure the paint, or the clear coat or the primer. Just mix it and they spray on. When they run into problem, they come back to you guys. Hey, this is drying, this happened. The mixing ratio have to be important. Right? Like solid color, mixing ratio is 3 part to 1 part hardener to 10 to 15% thinners. That is solid color. Right? Which is direct gloss. Right? Now, if they're using 798, 832 is like that. If they're using 790, the mixing ratio going to change, which is 2 to 1 to 10 to 15% thinners. You have to remember that. Right? Now, I'll give you guys the mixing ratio for the primer, but I'll go right back, which is 761, which is 4 to 1 with 770. right? When I say 4 to 1 to 1, 4-part primer, 1 part hardener, 1 part reducer. Like with the 770. If you're using the 798 or the 832, it's 5-part primer, 1 part hardener, 2-part reducer. I do recommend them to use the 790 to dry fast. Right?
When I said 2-part reducer,
Okay. I could just take one of the mixing cup and show you guys. Once you're mixing like this, you have to use the universal side of the mixing cup, which is here. Because you have 2 to 1, 3 to 1, and 4 to 1, I think, in the cup, right? 2, 3, 4. It don't have the amount. So anytime you're mixing like that, you have to use the universal side here, right? So what I tell you is 5 to 1 to 2, right? So you check in. If you're mixing a little bit, you check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 1 to 2. If you're mixing a big amount, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 1 to 1, 2. That is important. So the first one is always what you're going to mix, which is the primer. 5-part primer, 1-part hardener, and 2-part reducer.
you just got with 2-part.
No, this is the 761. If you're using the 5305 or the 5301, it's the same primer. It's just 5301 is white, 5305 is gray. Right? That makes it 5 to 1 to 1. So you're checking here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 1 to 1. That is the 798. That will be, now, off the record, you could go with the other, 832 could work like that, but I recommend the 798. With the 798, this primer dry in 30 minutes. 30 minutes. 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
30 minutes. And you could sand it and it will be powder and the finish is real good. Now this the only thing with this primer is a complete primer, a complete panel primer. It's not a spot repair primer. Like the 761, you could spot repair, do little spots. This is a complete panel primer. And the beauty with this primer, if you rub it and you get a metal spot average about this size, you don't need no etching primer, epoxy primer, this could go on over that spot. But if it's a bigger area, then you need epoxy primer or etching primer. This primer is a very nice primer. It full up scratches, bare metal. If it's an average about the size, it could go straight on it. Anything bigger, well, you have to use epoxy or etching primer. Always remember that. Right? As I tell you, you're applying your primer, 2 wet coat with a 1.6 to a 2.0 gun. That is all you need. Nothing more than that. Huh? Air pressure between 29 to 39. Air pressure. All depends on the spray gun you have. Now, long time ago, you used to use a lot of air to put on paint and clay. Now, most of these guns, little air, little finish. It don't blow out with the paint. If you find you're going to throw off anything, it's up to you guys. Okay. So activating the base coat or the pearl, you could leave it same mixing ratio 1 to 1. You won't have no issue. Right?
You will demonstrate doing it the new way, and if they want to try it that way,
Well, if you want me to do it tomorrow, because we have the 070 panel,
Yeah.
and you want me to activate it to show them how it works, we could do it that way. Or if you want, I could do the same normal way one-to-one, but just show them the different steps in doing it.
In doing the RR, which is the red and
Mhm.
the base coat, that is a more seller, just like the 070,
Okay.
you know, but the red, the pearl always come out wrong for that. Somehow we don't match up because Mr. King said.
It don't match because, you know why? The spraying technique.
Not even the spray technique. Mixing
Color,
it and a whole.
When you mix it, it can come off completely different.
They have to bring a sample so that we can
You could touch it.
Mhm.
The formula doesn't match with the sample.
Complete different.
It comes out what the base usually comes out whiter.
Okay.
So you have to adjust it.
No, that's the 707. But you're talking about the RR is a red.
It's a red, but he
Yeah.
was talking about the white.
070,
pearl.
yeah.
My experiences, basically all the pearl whites. There no time when you mix it, even if you use the formula.
But you know, okay, but you know in a 3-stage, right? In a 3-stage, when you touch it and you touch the pearl over it, it look different. When you spray it, it look completely different. The way I always tell people, the painters, for safety, when you go back home in your body shop, get a panel, and there's a small little panel, do a spray out, and offer it on the vehicle, so you know exactly what you're looking for. Then you do so, paint the complete vehicle, paint waste, pearl waste, clear coat waste your time, and then there's something wrong. So always double check. It won't cost you maybe a few minutes, just to double check that to make sure it's right.
Especially if some people who mix the matcha, you gotta tell them, well, before you spray it, do one trial thing.
Yes.
See how you look in case if we okay, before you spray it. Because sometimes I have some customers, I get like what you say, spray out everything when they find out, when I take off the paper, they call it no match, then they want to come back. One back to paint, one back to their foot. You should not test the paint.
I can remember I was in St. Vincent, and a guy buy some paint the car, the broadside, come and tell me the color matching, the color way off. Buy back some paint, went back and said this color looking way off again. I tell him, I say, you have somebody first paint with me in back? He say, yes. I said, right. We're closing the store at 6 o'clock, I will come by you after. Me and the guy from the store went up by him. Take the same, not the first set of paint, not the second paint. All I did was on the edge, I tell him, we paint on the back fender and on the front fender, rub it, tape it off. I didn't go the whole vehicle, the whole broadside back. Just on the edge between the two, I fan in the paint, and I clear it. Asked him, I seen anything? No. The technique he was using. Simple, and color was, he's completely off. And these guys have the camera system, that when they do it, they mix it to color, and then they come back complain. We say, okay, we put the camera, get the same code back with the camera, give it back the same original code, but when we mix it, they say no, darken it a little bit for him. So once you want to darken, it's under your responsible for that. We darken it, complain. When he had a little bit of paint with me back the first time, first set he buy, and I spray it and it looked real good. Now normally when I fade it, what I just do, when I done fade, and I go to clear coat, I leave a very little bit of paint on the spray gun that I mix. Mix it with my clear coat, fan in the edge with my fade out thinners. If I stop right there, when I done wash my gun, take the fade out thinners and just blow it on the edge between the old paint and the new paint, and it melt everything. You cannot see the difference. I know that's an extra cost. Now, off the record between me and you, 1490 should work just as fade out thinners. Like off the record. But you have to know how you're doing it. You have to move a little faster.
Well, when some of the guys tell me they use like a thinner, I melt the paint and
Any thinners will work, but you want something to slow a little bit, so you can melt and bring back everything. So when you're done, you cannot see the difference where you paint. That is the reason for.
Majority of vehicles the same, like I say, when they repair on door. You know, carry it across, save the front door. And tape off directly to the end of the fender,
Mm-hmm.
end of the back door. When you watch by a vehicle, see the difference between the door I get spray and the fender.
It's going to look different. Simple thing, right? A guy buy a gallon of paint and paint a car. The finish car look real good. Give the customer, he collect it on his way home. He get a little fender bender on a door or a bumper or something. So the guy come back. He start to smile, he know he have paint, he might have clear, so he say he making a little extra money. He have paint already mix, and he go to spray just one panel, it's going to look different. You have to fade it out. And when you tell these guys, first thing they turn around and say, well, the customer didn't pay for me to fade. But here what's going to happen? You're painting a panel. Next to the panel, you put in paper. Next one, you put in paper. When you're done paint is be on the two paper. You don't ever stop just so you gain paint. So that same paint fading out your two panel, all it costing you is a little bit of clear extra to clear the two extra panel. And most of the time, sometimes you mix clear and a little bit, we make you dump it because you don't save it. Right? So, and watch my work move faster, your color look better, and everything.
So, yeah, so just inside the tape the set area, leave it just as is, without taping it and just pan it off.
What I do, let me just say, I painting the front door, right? I rubbing my front door normal, fixing the little fender bender, priming it. I rubbing my back door with maybe a 800 or 1000 sandpaper, rubbing the front fender the same thing. And when I paint in, and I come there, just fan off my hand, come and fan off my hand on the fender. You tack off the area that didn't paint, which is part of the back door, part of the front fender. Come back with my second coat, I go in a little thing further than where I stop the first coat, fan off, tack off, come back. Once I see I get the coverage, pull back, do the drop coat like what you do on your fan off, tack off, and you clear all three panels one time. You won't have no problem.
That's without using any tape.
Well, you're taping up the rest of the car. Now, if you want to do it this way, tape up, then after fan it in, that is more work and more time for you. So you need to do that. And watch me, it ain't costing you nothing extra to do that. Now, the paint shop guy, the body shop guy going to like that because here what happen. Car finish it gone, next one come in. That if you do it panel to panel, the color look wrong, he might finish the paint, you have to come back, call with you guys, buy more paint, go back, paint the same panel again, and it's going to look the same way. This new paint here have to fade out. Anytime you're going to paint panel to panel, you're going to run into problem. Now, a lot of painters here, first thing they're going to say, well, the owner not paying to paint these panels on them. As a vehicle coming by you, you're supposed to know, listen, I have to fade. So you charge them the price. You're not even telling them you're going to paint, because first thing a guy going to say, hey, nothing wrong with my back door, nothing wrong with my front fender. Is the door work a hit? But he don't know what's going to happen. Unless you explain to him, if I don't do that, the color won't match. If I paint your pan and the color, I'm not responsible. So if you want, I could do it like that. So you have to let them know that.
What would be the ratio for the fade out now?
Okay.
Mixing that.
All right. So if you're doing a normal two-stage, once you're done, spray your paint, right? And you fade out. You're mixing 2 parts of paint to 1 part fade out thinners. Right? And you're going over everything back, but you're going a little further. So the fade out thinner is going to melt everything. And then after you come and you put your normal clear coat on all your panels. If you're stopping on an area that you don't want to paint somewhere, and it's something like on the edge, when you've done that and you clear coat, you rinse your gun, keep a little bit of the paint, a little bit of clear coat that you already mixed with some fade out thinners, and on the edge right here, between the new paint and the old paint, you give it a little fade. But anytime you're doing that, you always remember, rub a little further than where you're going to stop the paint. Don't ever rub right in and cover it with paint. that's going to fade off, that's going to peel out after a while. So you're leaving some that area that rub, and you're coming in with the old area and the new area. One nice coat, even more nice, and that's going to melt everything and look good. Right? Another thing, you need to explain to the straighteners, MV. When you fill in, do not skip grades with your MV. Right. Let me say use a 80 to block your filler, and you jump from 80 all the way to 220 or 320 without 100. Here what is going to happen? The scratches with 80, filler going to get smooth, but the 220 not going to take off the 80 scratches. So from 80 you go 100, then you could go 220, 180, then you go to 320. And every time you're going to fill, if you're going to spot repair, always open the area bigger than where you're going to prime. Some fellas just rub, this is the area here, they rub right there and they prime all here. They didn't even rub there and they prime all there. Always rub all here. So you stay in the area that you rub. And it's always better to hear what to do. You could do it two ways. You could prime here first, inside here, and then open up. Or you prime the bigger area and then you come in the second area. Right? That's important. Right? So I explained the mixing ratio with the 5305, 5301. Right? Clear coat 596, 3-1 with 798 and 832. No reducer needed for that. Air pressure between 29 to 39 psi. Honest, I just go 29, 30, 32 psi with my gun. I don't use a lot of air pressure. But what I do, my first coat of clear does look like my last coat of clear. I want my clear wet. A lot of fellas just put on a greeny look or a fumes coat, then they come out with that. No. My first coat of clear is be wet, just how my last coat does look. Give it the flash time, then you come with your second coat. Your flash time in painting is always important. Do not rush. If you don't give enough flash time, you're going to run into some issues. Always remember that. What you need is for your hardener and your thinners to evaporate off for your flash time. Anytime you go on your put on your second coat without that evaporating, you're trapping that inside. And then what's going to happen? You're going to run into some issues. When the other needs starting to try and push, you're going to push out everything now.
So you stay like
You get popping. Yes. Yes. So you need to explain your flash time is important. All depends on your temperature. Right? So 596 is just 3-1. If you're using 790, it's 2-1. No reducer. Right? 643 clear coat. The right way to mix it is 4-part clear, 2-part 856 hardener to 1-part reducer.
Can you use any other 2K hardener for that new clear coat that you were talking about, the 5?
That is 6330? All right. Off the record, the correct hardener for that is 6295, which is mixing 3-part clear to 1-part hardener to 1-part reducer. Right? 3-1. That is 6330. I being honest with you, 798 hardener. To me, I find I get a better finish with the 798 hardener. That is off the record. It dries faster with the 798 and everything. That's the MS so hardener. But then it's a MS hardener compared to the 6295 is a HS hardener. So your finish going to look good. But the 798 work just as good. Now you was asking me if these guys could use HS hardener with the paint, not an issue. Just follow the correct mixing ratio. Yes.
HS hardener, you use a different ratio.
Yes.
Like we were taught that all 2K products work together. So if I'm using, like you said, EHS hardener, EHS clear coat, and I run out of EHS hardener, can I use one of the MS? Why shouldn't I use the MS? Can people buy the EHS and I'm telling them they're breaking down the solid because it's EHS, right? But is that the correct way or is that the correct term?
Now, honest, you're not supposed to do that. Everything have something to go with, which is A and B. That hardener designed for that clear. But again, off the record, 798 could work. Even 770 could work on it. But the finish you're going to get with the 856 HS or the 6330 with the correct hardener is going to be different. But hardener is hardener at the end of the day. It will work. But you explain the right thing for them. They have to choose what they want. But you're letting them know the finish you're going to get with the HS is going to be completely different with the MS.
With the whole HS system.
No.
Using the HS, yeah, with the HS hardener as compared to, you have 798 and never got HS, we can use that.
Well, I know back home in Trinidad, a lot of guys use 596 clear and they buy the 856 hardener. And the finish look amazing. But the mixing ratio is go 3-part to 2-part hardener with using the 856. Huh? I hear you.
They still end up spend more.
Well, these are going on. When you tell them, listen, it don't make sense, they want to use that. Yeah. But I have a guy, no matter what clear he buy, his hardener is 770 hardener. No matter he could buy 6330, 643, 770. He don't buy no 798, no 832, no 856, nothing. 770 hardener. And he said, boy, watch, the finish is good. Customer not complaining. So once it work for you. Always let people know, try and don't intermix with anything, because if you run into an issue, we're not responsible.
Well,
You do it on your own.
When they buy all different from all different sources and different brands of products, what that one work with this one? You have to do it on your own, because we know which one work for us and nobody else have the problem. So we tell them we are not responsible for where they. Well, I have the same problem right now with the 596. What happened to the 596 airport? You know, we said, what happened to the 596? Floyd, a couple of days ago, he said that the airport is not drying now. But I have read it.
But what he do? Now, simple thing like this, right? Same with our hardener, which is 798 or 832, with the 596. If you don't follow the mixing ratio and use more hardener, it takes longer to dry. And when you tell fellas that, if I use more hardener, you're going to dry fast, no. This only allow so much hardener. Anything else is going to be floating around. And it's going to be tacky and it's going to cause issue. So you have to remember that.
Like for example, we have the USC hardener. Some of them use the to cake craftwork or the cake mix with, like they mix it together to different brand and they work with it.
Yeah, it's going to work. But how long it's going to last? I'm not sure.
Like you already
You know, they mix up the product, but we can't do nothing.
People, these end users try all kind of little trick to save a couple dollars and they run into problem. Now here why I sell them, right? When a car leave their body shop and somebody see it, most of the time they're going to ask, now what brand of paint that car have, you know? Who paint that car? And when that car out there, that represents your body shop. So if you want your body shop to last long, keep a name and get work, you do the right thing. If you're going to cut on material, the car not going to look good. And then after a while, people will say, hey, who you paying by? Oh, nah, I'm not carrying my car by that guy. I'm going to buy somebody else. So who losing? And you might look to save maybe 100 or 200 on the vehicle by cutting your material. And long term, what's going to happen? You're going to start losing job. So these way you need to let them know. Then the first thing they go blame, the paint shop didn't give me the right paint. No, the paint shop give you the right thing is what you want to do with it. So this is something you need to know. Right. Now, this new clear coat, the clarity in this clear coat is clearer than 643. You guys that sell these 643 5 liter, you guys just open it and pour it out.
We sell it backwards too.
Okay. When you point it, you know, it's a thick clear. But your water clarity is a little more on the creamy side, a little bit yellowish side. Right? 6330, if you open it and you're going to pour it, you're going to find it thin. You can say something wrong with this clay. But the clarity in this is very clean. It brings out your finish plenty more better. Now, when a product is thin, it doesn't mean that it don't have the body. It have it. It's just the new technology now with these products. It's going to be like that. The new chemicals in them is thinner than normal. I don't know if you guys realize 596 is a little thinner now compared to used to be before. Because it's the new, right. When you're pouring it, you will see it. It's the new technology in the clear coat that we mix in. Mm-hmm.
Because it's thin. And we said, this is quite fun, but when we smell it, it's different.
Yeah. So if fellas tell you, hey, this 6330 thin, boy, no. A thin, but the finish you're going to get. Now, if you use the proper foundation, which your foundation is everything, good primer, mix the ratio how it's supposed to be, apply it, use your base coat and use this clear coat. This is going to give you between 12 to 15 years guarantee on your vehicle without breaking down. If you mix it properly, spray it how it's supposed to.
The base correct.
Huh?
The foundation is correct.
Foundation have to be the most important thing. Because a lot of fellas, hey, they want to use lacquer primer. They want to cut back in the hardener. What's going to happen after a while? Once that starts to give trouble, everything else on top going to give trouble. So you have to let them know.
Well, we have a lot here in vehicles that their coat is cheap enough. We have a lot of people like that.
Yes.
After a while, it's like it's not cheap enough.
When you cut down, you're going to get that. Now, our next thing, your MWs. Don't ever burst your MW. Most garage you go, they tear the MW.
When it's on paper?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When you tear that, you might tear it on a jagged edge. And if you're using a 400, the scratch that 400 is going to give you is like about a 220. And when you block down the car with a 400, you go in your direct gloss. Most fellas direct gloss, you could go with 400. And you paint, you're going to see that scratches. Hey, the primer didn't do what it's supposed to do. But you burst it. MWs, the little grain, going to get bigger than how it is. Always good to take a knife or scissors and cut your MW. That is very important. So you need to let them know that.
Why when clearing white it becomes yellow after a while?
All right. Because you're not supposed to really put clear coat over white. The pigment run into issue.
Yeah, but a customer just buy 3 gallons of base coat white.
Base coat white?
Yes, base coat.
And it clear it?
And they want to clear it.
Okay.
They put it on both too.
All right.
Or
What primer did he use?
Well, they just order the paint. We don't
All right.
get
Listen,
the
if they use our primer, you won't have that issue. If they use a cheaper primer, it's going to bleed through the pigment. Now, our next thing could cause that, if you're doing your body filling work and you use a little more hardener than normal, that could cause an issue. Yes, if you use a little more hardener, it's going to bleed through. And if you realize where they get any issue, it's not everything get yellow, it's only where they put body filler or where they put the spot prime or something, they're going to run into that problem.
So would you recommend to use base coat white on anything?
On base coat?
Base coat white.
Yeah. But if these guys have an issue, the best thing to do, put the vehicle in black first. The boat or whatever, and direct gloss black, give it a scuff down and then put your white. The black seal everything. You won't get no bleed through. A long time ago, we used to have that in white pearl. Wherever had filler, it was to start to look yellow. But with this new filler and them they have now, which is stain-free, supposed to be a good filler. You don't have that issue anymore. So it could be something they use underneath cause that to get that issue.
Well, they don't have the issue as yet. I'm just saying because one customer had 3 gallons of base coat white and I got base coat white. I catch it when they already mix it, so I leave it as that. But because what we are doing, the when you don't mix it. But if
when you mix it here,
yeah, but
it turns yellow?
No,
Uh-huh.
it doesn't turn yellow, but I'm asking because in the past, you have customer complain about clearing white, it becomes yellow.
Okay.
But yesterday I saw a customer, or this man I saw, where somebody have an order for 3 gallon of base coat white. If I had got pick up on that order before, I would have asked them why they were adding base coat white, especially for the keys when they clear it, because they use a lot of this paint in the marine industry where they've been selling it.
Yeah, but in Trinidad we use a lot of this paint in our marine industry and nothing will happen.
It works, so then
Yeah.
it works compared to the price of both paint, right? It's not for bottom.
But always good. Yeah.
Right now.
It's always good if you're using on marine, give them a HS clear coat. Don't give them 596. 596 is medium solid. That's what MS stand for. HS high solid. The solids are a little more high, it's more better for the UV and everything. I always tell people when you're painting a car, put a few dollars more and buy the HS. The finish going to be better, going to last longer and everything. The MS work good, no issue. But if you could afford the HS, you're going to get plenty better finish.
For example, like how much longer? 10 years, 15 years, 20 years?
With
They would ask that.
the HS,
Yeah.
12 to 15 years. And if you take care of your car, it lasts longer.
So anyway, have to be to even that.
Now, another thing, fellas, most people wash their car, right? What they wash their car with?
Dishwashing
Dishwashing liquid or soap powder. What dishwashing liquid
Cut
make to
grease.
do? Cut grease. So when you washing your car with that, what that going to do to your body job, your paint job? It's going to break down that clear after a while. And once that start to break down and that UV hit that, everything going to go. And then first thing going to blame, hey,
clear coat not good?
the clear coat not good. No, is what you use. I always tell people, if you don't have a good car wash, use plain water and wash your vehicle.
Supposed to have like a grease.
Yeah, plain water.
Citrus power now. Nowadays,
Well.
it's citrus power.
A good car wash.
In my case, I do mechanic work.
Uh-huh.
So sometimes I touch the fenders and I left the fingerprint and
Mhm.
stuff like that. Warm water, one thing.
I know, you had to get something to take that off.
Yeah.
Use a good car wash.
You don't have that here.
Meaning car wash, they are
Liquid.
liquid,
The one in the house. Right?
clean,
Yeah.
and shine and protect.
Yeah.
Also said it's, not exactly this one, but
I know, yeah. Because here what's going to happen, yes, you're going to take it off, but what's going to happen after? So the best thing to do, get something to cover the area that you're working on so it won't grease up the vehicle. Because most people park the car outside now, they don't have no garage or anything for the vehicle. That dew hit in that car, the UV, the sun, everything. So you need to explain to them, they need to keep polishing the vehicle as often as possible. Like every 6 months, a wax, a glaze, you're going to have it good. If you don't do that, what's going to happen? And when you do that, the rainwater and everything wash off and everything faster. So you need to follow them instruction. Everybody okay with everything so far? So remember when a car come in and you guys going to mix the paint and they bring a pattern, make sure and ask them if what side they're painting. If it's matching up the side they're painting. Because what we realize, a guy might be painting the right side but he brings something from the left side. And the left side paint over is a wrong color. So when you're going to mix out, the color going to come out different. Because that's the pattern he brings for you. Because when you mix it to formula and you test it, it's wrong, boy. So you're going to either darken it or lighten it, or add a little more red or a little more blue. So that, you have to check that.
The majority of times I get stumped over them. That's the easiest. Some vehicles sometimes you have nothing to
To work with.
work. It's a bit.
I guess you had to do what you had to do. Now, your color chip is very important to update, go to it.
Well, this year when I get new
Since 2018, we didn't get no update. I was talking to the guy from 2018, no update, which we need to get update.
how they book.
Color books, no color books neither. They stopped doing color book. They said that costing them too much money. Now, which is, you guys need to get something, which is Paint Manager set up on your system, right? You have more updated color and everything.
Our system, you're saying some colors recommend the one code, especially some reds. But our system doesn't give us.
It have something they can supposed to get on that, you know. I will check it and I will see. Now with this new paint manager, you get in the ground coat. So you go to it exactly and it tell you how to mix it.
This is present this.
But you're supposed to get in color mobile because
Color mobile we are
yeah.
using, but that doesn't give us one code.
yeah, it's supposed to get spectral gray. And when you go in spectral gray, you're supposed to see. But I'll go check it and see. But most I think there's be darker the colors, like a black, a dark blue, will call for 6 or 7.
Color wheel?
Yeah.
They don't
So you
do
could-
the color wheel anymore?
Yes, they're doing the color wheel, but in the changing of the system right now.
When mixing hits.
Uh-huh.
For instance, I would mix, say, a blue
Mhm.
or any metallic,
Yeah.
and it will come a bit darker than it should. Sometimes I would use what I find out when I use the 984,
Mhm.
I leave like a dark shadow behind the hit. Like, where I said, like, if you use, why get better result with the 985, but no with
But you have to remember, finer the greens, lighter the silver is. Bigger the greens is, darker it is. So you have to watch the green you're using. Could get a darker cast.
the 984.
It's not a big green, but it's a medium. And the cast in that itself is 984. It's not a bright aluminum. It's more like a mid-range. Because if you watch that between 985 and that look a little darker to compare to 985. So you're looking for a cleaner silver to brighten the color a little bit.
So the 985 would be a better.
Yes. Now remember I tell you when you mix in, and let me say pull this formula, and you check it, it look a little darker. Check your formula now. All the dark colors, don't use that. Look for the light colors in your same formula, and always throw a few drops. Check it. Then you put too much, you're going to spoil the paint. It's better to add than to take out, especially in paint. It will take you a little more time to keep throwing a couple drops to check it. But you know when you're done, you're good to go. And you always, when you mix it, show the customer, they okay with it? Yes. Once them okay, you happy. But you need to let them know you need to fade this. Anything you're doing. Anytime they're going to paint panel to panel, they're going to run into problem. They have to fade it. So you always let the customer, when I mix in, I show the customer, hey, you okay with it? Yeah, man. Or hey, I find it looking a little more dark. Add something in it. Or throw a few drops of this for me. You want it, buddy? I will do that for you. But you know, once I do that, complete throw off the formula. So you have to remember next time what you're looking for. So that is important. So that's say you have to know your strengths, your colors, to know how you're mixing. Some aluminum darker, some brighter. So you have to know what you're using. Simple thing like your pearl too. You have to know what you're using. How you're using with your pearl and whatnot. So you have to be very careful. And next thing you need to do is to turn on your bank every day. If you don't agitate that paint, you're going to run into problem. The color could throw off. Well, right. Right. And if you put in a new can of paint, always shake it. For safety. So you're sure you get everything from it. Right? Try to not use the wood paddle in paint. That wood paddle soak up the oils from your paint and could cause the color to throw off. Always use aluminum stick. Yeah.
Are those aluminum sticks still available? Or?
Yes, but what they do now, tell you something, PPG cut back on a lot of stuff, so they're making mostly universal stick. Now with the universal stick, you could mix any product on it because you have the universal. And what they're doing now, most people, as I tell you, they're going with mixing cup. Now it have this size, it have a smaller one. It even have the bigger, some big mugs like this selling. And these mixing cup is, this is disposable.
Yeah.
But if you done, you have no reason to put thinners to rinse it. Here what's going on. You leave it, by the next day you just squeeze it like this, and you just pull out everything and you're done.
The same thing like your one pipe, you put the paint without the plastic.
Yeah.
Primer, just mixing that.
Yeah.
You want to get that hickey, shell the paint.
Now here what? We didn't touch on plastic primer, right?
Because I don't think I have glue, so I don't
For the longest while we didn't have any, we're not getting. We didn't have, but plastic primer is very important to spray on plastic parts. Now if you get a bumper, a guy going to bring in a bumper that is not an original bumper, they need to take a scuff pad with body clean and rub that bumper clean 3 or 4 times with the scuff pad, rinse it with water, and then about 1 inch inside the bumper too, because these not original bumpers is have a coating over it, and if you don't take it off, and as you put your paint, power washing, it's going to come off. So you need to do that. Now our next thing, they put on the apply the plastic primer, but you need to use 2020. I see you guys have that.
Flexible
Additive. Right? Now, a little trick I just normally do. When I paint in my cars, I just use flexible additive on my paint, on my clear coat. Reason for, but once you're using that, you have to use it from your first coat, second coat, right through. It slows down the process by extra 5 minutes, but here what happened. The little stone chip that most cars get on the bonnet, I don't get that, because it flexes the clear coat. Now if a big stone fall, it's going to damage it. But them little fine stone chip, you don't get that. And here what happened, especially dark color vehicles, you just pick it up a lot. And here what happened, that for some reason, it is in, the glosses look a little more deeper when you use 2020 on it. Now a lot of fellas just mix, spray the plastic on bumpers or anything plastic and I want to dump it. I just use that, I use that 5%. When I done activate my clear coat, add an extra 5% on it. And I spray my vehicle. And if I go around the whole vehicle, by the time I'm done, full back again, I'm ready to go on again. But if you spot clean, you must give your flash time. Don't rush it. That plastic additive is work really good. It's a nice product.
So if the bumper is a little old and you say original, then you don't need to use the plastic primer if you don't have it. We could display, we could put that on the thing for tomorrow.
All right, so if you're going, we could use that. Now, if you don't have no work to prime or anything, you don't want for the plastic, use this, your base coat go on and then come use this in your clear coat. You could even use this in your primer too. Now, once it's plastic part, you have to activate your primer and your clear. If it's direct gloss, yes, you have to activate it too. Base coat paint, you have no reason for. Now, if you're activating your base coat, you could put a 5% on it. Like if you're activating your base coat. But if you guys don't want to activate it, we could leave it like that. That's what I used to.
Because for economical wise, so the plastic primer, to spray all of what is very expensive.
I know.
Go with a flexible added primer, then primer again. That's a.
I know, but we're going to get in one. It's a universal plastic primer. We ordered, so we should be getting it soon.
Do a universal one like
Yes.
this, yellow and white can?
No, these are different one. The one we get in going to be Deltron NXT. Right? So, it's very good. You guys want me to touch on anything again before we close up? Are you okay with that?
All that time.
I know. You guys want me to touch on anything?
Anything else there? Anything that is giving us problem? That you're mixing, so
That way, you're supposed to write it down. So, okay, you have it. You know what I mean? When you have an issue, so when I come now, you get it now. Because sometimes you sit here and then by the time you reach out, I should have asked him this, or should I find out that. But here what? Mix and paint is simple. Once you take your time, do what you have to do, you have no issue. The most important thing that people are going to come back and, hey, wrong color. But here what's going to happen. 99.9% of the time, it don't be the wrong color. It's be the end user's application.
customer came and picked a color from the fan deck.
Mm-hmm.
I followed the formula,
Mm-hmm.
mixed the paint, but I did never check what I mixed with the sample that he picked.
Mm-hmm.
Couple weeks he came back and he brought a sample of the paint that I gave him with the code and everything. And when I said it's the wrong color, I said, yeah. I pull the fan deck and I check it. Two different color indeed. Same one with better homes. So what I had to do, I had to adjust what the guy he wanted more. The correct color then. So I had to create my own formula to suit the color that he wanted.
But you know, it's a strange thing. Nobody ever complained to that about that to me.
It happens.
Like the color might be a little darker or a little lighter, but not completely off like that.
From the farmland, right?
Yeah.
And it come off completely different.
But we had the sets to match it up with. That we had the same because sometimes sometimes customer will turn in formula, but like you say, it's not the original paint, but they have an original formula and I know that come different. But
this one he come here, choose it from out of the fan thing. I punch in the code in the computer and everything gone in, all the ingredients gone in, same amount. And to be sure, I even mix over a little.
Just to make sure.
Original formula, just to make sure that what part the mistake that I come back with, I end up back with the
same thing
color that he took, which was the wrong color.
Okay. So that was strange. But that was it. Always good when I finish to double check, show the customer. Once they okay with it, they'll realize it.
Most of the time, customer are not here.
I know. And this is the reason.
Show them when they come.
I know. But this is the reason you guys should talk about. Listen. Hear what? Try to get Paint Manager. Paint Manager is more updated. As they make a formula because it's updating the internet, it hook up to the internet, it update one time. Yes.
I'm not really sure who to get this color. First we just use eFish.
Yes, and then eFish went out,
Yeah.
and now they come and they're using Color Mobile.
Yeah.
Now Color Mobile going to go out in a couple of years. So you yeah. I have the flash drive right here with me. I could download it. If you said you would, I could download it now.
That would be great.
let us go with 20.
But the only problem is a cost for the year. Color Mobile is free. Paint Manager is a cost for the year.
Like you said, and it also said we have one. You said we have a scanner that will cut our work time in half. What
Yes.
we need because we.
But then if you buy the scanner, you have to buy a new computer. Because that scanner system go with a computer that design. A car come in, you take a shot at that, clean the area first. Now you have to be very careful with the scanner. The scanner have a little strap, put it on your hand and be gentle. If that only fall, a damage. And that scanner, the new one is about 40,000 US.
Woo! Hey, you're right about
The camera system and everything, with the computer, everything woke up to about 50,000 US.
Another thing, like when people bring in sample and they don't have code. Like that.
I know that throw you off. You have to formulate your own thing. What I tell people like that, right? Try to go in the chat and pick a color. Now, if it's a complete paint over, I just try to get the customer, hey, go with this code. It's very close, and in case you have to paint back your vehicle, easier to mix. But some of them, they say they want this color, so you have to mix it.
We use
with the panel line. It was right there where you were color matching that you were looking at and one computer.
sometimes even with that, you get
the correct color. But
with this new one you're talking about, that's more advanced than
This new one, picking up the grains, the side tone, and everything. And when you set it on the computer and hit enter, it's going to show you the color that it picked against the original, so you've seen it. Now you're going to pick maybe about 10, 12, sometimes 15 colors. So you look for the furthest one, the closest one to it, which, hey, this might be 2% match, 3%. No, you're mixing and leaving that. Don't adjust nothing.
No, but you see, it's not for a new job or a complete job. Most of the time, they don't bring color, they don't bring codes for a job that they just want a little.
Well, they if they bring a pattern, they bring no code. This is going to get your own code.
The new pen converter machine, that when we choose a color and we don't got the base, we mix to match it. I give you
A formula.
different size of base, type of base, sorry, and the percentage.
How much you use?
They got
Where it
1,
match closer, no?
85, 2.6,
Yeah.
10, and so on. So
Just like this. This will tell you, hey, 99%. Next one might be 96%. And it will show you the color now on it and watch it. So you can click on it and you see the color. Hey, I find that look a little more blue with this one, and you go with it. Once you mix it, you don't even have to interfere with that. Give the customer and that's it. But the issue is, they need a fader. If they're going to paint panel to panel, they're going to run into the same problem. You need to educate the end users. You need to fade. Right? And they need to upgrade in the spray gun, in the compressor, in their hose. Simple thing, I sell a guy a spray gun, big company, leave it for him. By the time I reach halfway, he come back, Billy, something wrong with the gun. I said, well, it's a new gun, but here what's probably something wrong with it. So next I pick up a next gun, which is a SATA, carry it to them, say, before I leave, we test it. Not spray, not for hell. You're not getting what you're looking from the gun. So I pick up the two gun. I remember a guy bought a gun, the same gun about a month ago. Went by him, clipped the gun in his compressor, big difference spraying. I said, oh, you know what was the problem? They had a smaller fitting going into the gun from their compressor, which the hose was small, the fitting was small. You need a 3/8 hose, a 3/8 fitting. Because this new gun, high volume but low pressure. So these guns need certain amount of air to atomize the paint and the gun to get a good finish. So I borrow his part, the hose, went down, plug it on, boom, gun was good. So you could have a good spray gun, a good one, you don't have the proper hose or the fitting, snap on, you're going to restrict the air and they're going to make no use. So all these little things they need to know. Right?
That's why when you check the spray gun with the compressor today and the fittings, we never went over that 4 miles.
No.
So we need to do that first thing in the morning.
Well, whatever we have, we'll work it there tomorrow and we will see what's going on. You guys, everybody okay with everything so far? So you guys understand? So if I ask all you, ask them, boy, how you mixing 596 Clickwood with 798 hard now?
I believe as 3 to 1 to 1. No, what? Sorry, 3 to 1.
All right.
Noted.
Okay.
And what air pressure you using to spray it?
The pressure, I believe 28, right?
Well, from 29 to 39, all depends.
29 to 39.
Now, all these numbers is be hard to pick up just like that, but your boy write it down so you guys could take a little spray it, have it out, print it and put it different part of the shop. So somebody come, everybody can say, hey, this is your mixing ratio. This is how you do it. Because remember,
I have it
Yeah.
right there, and I also have them take a camera, a photo,
all
copy of what, especially circling the products what they use and the formula of how to mix it.
Nice.
I have it right there.
because remember at the end of the day, these are the people that they come into you guys. And if you don't know how to mix it up, explain to them, they're going to do stupidness and come back to you. So you have to be, hey, you need to do it this way, buddy. You need to do it like that. Let them know, so at least if something go wrong, you let them know the right way. If they want to do it, it's not an issue. Right? So are you okay with everything? Nice. Must thank you guys for being here, and lady, right?
You could
For your
come
time.
right?
I mean, it's a Friday evening, everybody want to go and hang out and spend time with your family. So it was nice, but I hope you guys learned something.
Thank
Right?
you for facilitating.
No, that is not a problem. All right. Take care.